Hello, Peter Hollomans here. I'm the primary software developer for the Coastwatch data analysis tool CDAT, and I'd like to recap the videos in this series first. What I have done is I've gone over the user's guide, chapter 3, section 3.1 to 3.5, and I've showed how to obtain and install the software, load data into it, and the basic usage. Then I showed how to change the data enhancement and the palettes, and finally how to add various overlays on top of the data view. In this video, I'll cover section 3.6 in the user's guide, which is on data surveys. I'll set up this demo by showing channel 4 thermal data near Japan, which is similar to sea surface temperature but not corrected for atmospheric effects. So the magnitude of the values in the thermal data are different than sea surface temperature, but the pattern of gradients is very similar. So I'll start by zooming in on Japan. I'll pan up here, there it is, and zoom in a little bit. There we are, like that. And what I'll do next is I'm going to turn on channel 4, like that. And also I'm going to turn on a overlay group. The CDAT becomes installed with a number of overlay groups. And one of them is called oceanographic, and when I open it, it puts a landmask and grid lines on top of the data to bring out the features of the oceanographic part of the data. And what I'll do now is I'll add a channel 2 expression mask. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make it look a little bit like a cloud mask. So I'm going to mask out any data values for which the channel 2 value is, say, greater than 2.5, and that will get masked to a gray to represent a cloud. There it is. Now it's over top of the other overlays, so I'm going to take it, it's selected here, and I'm going to move it down so that it's rendered first. This is like a rendering stack, so the first thing at the bottom here is rendered first, and then it renders upwards like this. So now you can see that's a little bit like what you might see if the clouds were masked out. And what I'll also do is I'll change the channel 4 enhancement so that the minimum value is around 8 degrees Celsius and the maximum is at about 26, like this. I'll just pan up a little bit here. There we go. So you can see that looks like reasonably close to a sea surface temperature plot, and it's straight from unprocessed AVHR channel data. Now, on the left-hand side here under the Surveys tab, this is what I'm demonstrating in this video. What we have is a number of different kinds of surveys. First of all, the point survey. So if I click the point survey and then click the data view, what you can see is it's added a single marker and a survey of the data value at that point. You can see that the survey is shown up in this survey list here as a point survey. And under the results down here, you can see the row and column and latitude and longitude and the single value here, 19.9 degrees Celsius on the AVHR channel 4 variable. You can see that it's a survey here in the survey list that originally came up with a red color and a 2 thick pixel line. That's just the standard set of properties that it comes up with so that it shows up well in a data view. Similar to the overlay list, if you double click beside the value, you can edit those properties as well. Now the second survey I can do, a little bit more interesting, is a line survey. And I'm going to actually pan over a little bit, there we are, and zoom in and do a line survey around this gradient here. And so I select the line survey, click and drag on the data view, and I get a survey across that front. It's 2 points connected by a straight line. It's not a straight line on the Earth, it is a straight line on the data grid. But you can see in the results that it computed the distance here. That's the Great Circle distance, or as the crow flies, 167.26 kilometers from point to point. Starting and ending coordinates in row and column and latitude and longitude, and then a set of statistics along the point. The count of the number of values, the minimum, maximum, mean, standard deviation. And this valid value here is the number of, out of the number of values that were counted, which ones of those were valid. So if in the data file, when it's loaded, if there are invalid pixels, meaning that there are actually pixels marked invalid, don't use these pixels, then it won't use them in the survey statistics either, and this valid value will be lower than the count value. Now, something else interesting about the line plot is that, the line survey, is that the plot generates an XY graph of the data values along the line. So you can see here where we started out in this area is about 16 or 17 degrees, and then across the front it jumps and then it ends up at about 23 degrees. So that's about a 6-degree gradient across that front. Now we'll go on to the box survey. If I do a click here and click and drag over this area where the line is, we get similar results to the line plot. There's an upper left corner and a lower right corner coordinates in the results tab. Then we also have min, max, standard deviation, count, and valid values. In this case, to speed up the to speed up the statistics computation, it only samples a target of about 10%. In this case, it was actually 6.5% of the pixels as a representative sample. And in the plot, you can actually see a histogram as opposed to an XY plot, and you can see in this case two populations of pixel values, one with a mean around, say, 17, and another one with a mean around, say, 23 or 24 degrees Celsius. So finally, the polygon plot, very similar to a box plot, but you can specify the corner points of an irregular polygon. So clicking and releasing until finally just double click to get the final polygon, and you can see the results are very similar to a box plot, to a box survey, and then the plot is a histogram as well. Something else I didn't show is that you can delete you can delete surveys from this list after you've surveyed them if you don't want to have them in there anymore. You just select the survey in the list and delete that like that. So now we just have the line. Let's delete the point as well. There. That's the only survey left. So that's it for this video on surveys. In the next video, I'll show how to draw your own lines and boxes and text on the data view. Thanks for watching.